It's Tuesday, 30th of June 2026. I'm Chica the midwife. And yeah, I said I was going to post a video every Tuesday. So let's start, let's go. What is this page about? I'm a midwife, as my title suggests. And I wanted to create a page, which I have on my other social platforms, to help empower women, inform women, give you the correct evidence-based information, help you to advocate for yourself. Also to help me be a better midwife, because I learn through my experiences, through your experiences. So yeah, what I wanted to start off talking about today is the maternity situation we're having in the UK. And actually, this is having similar effects around the world. At least I hear a lot of things from America, and I talk to my friends and colleagues in Australia. But we're going to talk about the UK. So let me sit down. I didn't get a drink. It's nice and sunny. Okay. So in the UK, we're having a maternity crisis. As you all, or many people know, we have the NHS. So all our services in the UK medically are free, but we do have private situations as well. So you do have options. You can have some of your care privately if you want to pay for it, or if you've got insurance, but that's by the by. I'm a politically neutral person. I don't go into all of this. I'm not going to sit here and shout and scream and put people down or anything like that. And I know a lot of my colleagues are on social media, and they're so good at really picking through all the different things that are going on, especially politically. And I don't want to do that, not because I think there's anything wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. It's just not me. I'm more of okay, what can I do to help? What do we need to do now? Because there are little things that can help midwives, everyone in the medical field, but especially you women now. And we have had two major reports that have come out, one from Baroness Amos and one is the Ockenden report, looking specifically at a hospital unit. But let's just call a spade what it is. The maternity, they've been using the word crisis, and we are in crisis. And before these investigations took place, my colleagues and I were speaking out. I can't speak for everyone, obviously, and not everyone was, but we were asking to be heard. We were asking for things. And no, it wasn't always for a pay rise, but it was for the situation. There will always be more pregnant women than there will be midwives and doctors. Always. So we know that's the case. There will always be needs for more beds, and there will always be a need for more staff. That is always going to be there. But that doesn't mean that we give up. A lot of things that have come out from all these investigations, and not just these recent ones, is the bad experiences women are having. And they are because we're involved. I'm involved in that. We're witnessing that. And I remember before I became a midwife, one of the things that my family said to me was, how are you going to cope? Because you're such a sensitive person. How will you be able to cope? And I have been able to cope, but it's not been easy. I do go home crying. I do go home worrying about people. I try my best, and I can only speak for myself, but I know I work with some amazing midwives and doctors who really are trying their best. And the system, it doesn't help us. And I'm not going to lie, sometimes you can come on a shift and you're like, oh my goodness, am I working with this person? I don't want to work with this person, but I have no choice. I don't trust this person, but I have no choice. And it makes it hard. I hope I don't make anyone else feel like that about me, but it is true. And if I do, oh my goodness, can you tell me if anyone's watching? Because I'm a great believer in learning. I'm really super open to anyone coming to me with constructive criticism, coming from a place of good intent. and that's the main thing. But ooh, I have had a lot to say about this, in the sense that what I think really, really, really needs to change, first and foremost, is every single hospital is different. We all run off different policies and procedures, which are all evidence-based. So some hospitals have preferences over one type of medication or technique of doing something over another. And I think they have their right to do so, because there's evidence-based reasons to do that. We don't all have to follow suit with things. However, we do need to be uniformed. You do need to be able to go to a hospital and know that what care you're going to receive there will be similar, if not the same, if you went to another hospital. Now, don't get me wrong, listen, we need to be practical too. Some hospital units are smaller than other units, and that's to do with the population. Some areas of the country will have a mixed demographic, which require different tests, or the results of tests need to be read differently, or different medications work better on this ethnic group over the other. So of course we need to be expecting those differences in hospital units. But as a pregnant woman, worried or concerned about your pregnancy, you do need to know that when you call up for help, doesn't matter what hospital you go to, you will get that help and you will get that support. You need to know that when you come in labour, you will be seen, or if you come in not sure in labour, you will be seen. And I guess, that's not transparent. The other thing I'm worried about is these reports are essential for learning, but not just for learning, but for changing, because there's nothing more frustrating than we keep talking and talking and talking and talking about something, but we're not actually having any change. And I know, looking at the news today, they have said that they are going to make a commissioner. I know that's not the title that they use. They can't give a date for when that will happen. And I think that's fair. I think you should commit to, this is the date we're working towards. I can appreciate that you don't want to say, I don't know, the 10th of October, because then the 10th of October comes by and you haven't delivered, and then everyone goes wild. But I do think we should be able to say, this is what's come from this report, this is what's been recommended, and we're going to work towards this recommendation in this period of time. That gives people some confidence. It gives people something to look towards. I also know that families aren't happy with some of the things on the report based on what the news are saying. Now, don't get me wrong, the news can be biased, and it's a very big report and I'm still reading through it myself, so I don't want to touch on things completely because I haven't fully read it. But I can talk from experience. I 100% agree. If you look at my other social platforms, one of the words I use in there a lot is compassion. So I find it amazing, fascinating that has come up in this report by Baroness Amos, where she essentially has said that there's no compassion in care. And that scares me. But she's not wrong. I could have told you that today. I can write a page or two about that. Not all of my colleagues are compassionate. Yeah, it's true. The job is a job. It is. But when people's emotions, their mental well-being, the physicality of what's going on, the medical side of things are involved, a human being, it's not a robot, you can't not have compassion. But maybe, because we live in a day and age now where people struggle with emotions or showing their emotions, you can still do a very good job, we know that. You can still do a very good job without displaying the verbal evidence of compassion. But how you work and treat a person, that's evident of whether you're someone with compassion or not. And I think that's a very powerful word. And I think it's a very powerful thing that there has to be a little bit of that in you to do this job that we're doing. So what we're going to do about that, I don't know, because I don't know, can you teach people to care? You can teach someone how to do a job and do a job well. Can you teach someone to care? I don't know. I mean, to a degree, right? There's that nature versus nurture, for sure. Because if you are brought up in a loving environment, then that's supposed to equal you will be a kind and loving person. If you're brought up in a very abusive environment, that doesn't make you abusive though, but there's studies that say it's either one or all. You become abusive yourself, or you become the other way, and you know it's wrong and you don't want to be like that. So I guess, have I just answered my question? Can you teach someone to be caring? I think so. Yeah. I mean, you have to care a bit, right? Okay, so there's that. If you're in a situation where I'm in a situation where I'm looking after a woman in labour and I'm hearing that there's someone else in labour and they're in triage, excuse me, there's nothing I could do about that. I have to focus on the person that I'm looking after. One of the things that has been said is that the senior midwife or the senior person should be involved in being in triage. So triage is when you come in to be assessed. Let's just call it an assessment unit. You come in, we're trying to determine what's going on with you, and a lot of the time some of the horrible birth stories start there, because a woman comes in, she's in labour, there's no room in labour ward, she wants pain relief, we can't give her anything more, she wants an epidural, we can't give her that there's no bed, so where do we take her? Okay, now she's starting to have the baby, and now she's having the baby in a cubicle. That was not the desire, that was not what she wanted. That's not what I would want for you. But what do I do? What do I do if I'm in triage and I keep ringing the senior midwife saying this woman's about to have a baby? What does the senior midwife do if she's like, every labour room is full? So what do we do? I don't know. Do we then contact another unit, another hospital? Do we find another ward in the hospital and then just take the midwife with the woman to that ward? What if there isn't another midwife to do that? Because we are short staffed, remember. So there's a lot that needs to be worked on to improve your experiences. And I hope you don't feel that I'm trying to find excuses or make up excuses. I'm not. I'm genuinely just like, my brain is going like this with the news that I've watched over the last couple of days, with the things that I've been reading. And I'm just thinking what can be done. Now, the purpose I said earlier, well, not today, but in one of my videos, why I went onto social media was not because I wanted to. If I didn't want to. I've wrote a series of books, and one of the advice I got from an editor, from a publisher that I would love to come on board with me, was that they need a social media presence. So I reluctantly came onto social media, and it's quite funny when you look at my videos, the style has kind of changed. Not me, just I think how I film. But now I'm like, okay, I'm happy to do this. I think because of the feedback I get, right? I'm happy to do this because the purpose of my book was to help women. And now I'm on social media with a small following. But the feedback that I get and being able to answer questions has helped me see that actually if my book ever gets published, it would help people. But in the meantime, I'm enjoying ish because I find it stressful just talking and talking. But I am enjoying being on the platform. So yeah, I realized that I have a YouTube channel, but I don't do anything on it. Not really. I just copy and paste the videos from the other ones and put it on here without realizing and without thinking, actually, I can do a longer video on YouTube, so I can discuss what I'm discussing all week on the other platforms and then come here. But I just wanted to address this maternity crisis situation, this terrible situation. And I agree, there has to be transparency. Women, I hope what I'm trying to do is to empower you, to give you the information that you need, the information that hopefully in your antenatal appointments you're getting, and you're getting once you're receiving the labour ward, that sometimes I guess people are taking in things better on social media. We all learn and gain knowledge and information in different ways. So I hope that what I'm doing is helping towards that. But also I just think it's really important. Okay, so money aside, because every time any change or anything needs to happen, the thing that is blamed upon, other than being short staff, is there's never any money. So okay, so we've got no money, but there's still a lot of things we can do. And I was having this conversation with friends this morning. There's still things that can be done that don't require money. One of them is just talking to you and listening. Basic. Can we just go back to the basics? Why is a woman telling their maternity team they're in pain and we're telling you it's not possible, you can't be, your cervix isn't open, you're not really in labour? How dare you? Never. Whenever I have student midwives, that's one of the first things I say to them is, whatever the woman tells you, listen. That forms part of your clinical picture assessment of the situation. And every woman is different. I know what the books say. Of course I do. I studied it for 3 years. We all know what the books say. You can Google it and get the theory behind things. But theory aside, there's still an individual woman and her pregnancy. And we're all different. So the theory makes up some of that clinical picture, some of that assessment. But what you tell us completes that assessment. And then what should be happening, and then again, this doesn't cost any money, is a conversation with you. We've done the assessment. This is what we have found. These are your options. These are why we're presenting these options. What do you think and how do you feel about it? I don't think it's hard to have that conversation before there's an emergency. Because my sister made a really interesting comment when we were watching the news. And she said to me, you know, sis, some people, though, are not good at making decisions. Some people are great at making decisions. Some people are good at making decisions when they've got time to make a decision. Some are better when they're in that emergency. Some won't know what to do. And some people want you to just tell them what to do. And I said, yeah, that's true. I know that, but it was funny her telling me this, and she's not in the medical field at all. But it was funny because sometimes, as much as I might know something, having that reminder that, yeah, that is true. So we all need to remember that. One thing I think is important is that you need to be able to give someone information, give it to them correctly, but not just give them the information, check that they understand. Because guess what? We all also process information differently before we can even make a decision. So when someone is talking to you about an induction of labour, or you've got group B strep, or you're low PAP A, or there's an issue with your placenta, does that person understand what you're telling them? The onus is on me. The onus is on the doctor. It's not on you, the pregnant lady, or your family member, to make you understand. The onus is on me to make sure I have the information and I give it to you in a way that you understand. And I've realised this month of June that how I think my page is going to change is that I realised that I really want to help you raise your voice. I really want to help you feel comfortable and confident and capable to put forward whatever it is that you're thinking or feeling to the medical professional or whoever it is you're talking to at that time during your care. Because I completely understand, and this is interesting because it's different in different cultures, and I've learnt this from international midwives coming in to support our units because we're so short, how different things can be. So, for example, you can get countries where the midwife, the nurse, the doctor comes in and they're so revered, so you don't question anything. Whatever they tell you, you just do it. In fact, they don't even have to tell you; they'll just do it. And you just accept, and that doesn't make it, that's not right, but that does happen. We don't do that in this country, and we shouldn't do that in any country, but that is not the culture of medicine in this country, and it shouldn't be. It used to be, I mean, I'm not that old, but I know, listening to old people, 50s, 60s, 70s, they've said this to me: oh no, whatever your doctor tells you, you don't question it. That's it, but we now know that that doesn't work. Guess what? Because it's your body, it's your pregnancy, it's your choice, it's your rights. So yeah, I completely understand. One of the things I saw in the news today was a woman saying that she's had her second baby now, and that was an amazing experience, and it gave her confidence, and it made her see that this is how it really should be. But her first one was horrible. It was traumatic, and she was very ill as well after the delivery of her baby. She couldn't really care for herself or her baby, physically or mentally, emotionally, for 2 weeks, and she was visibly still tearing up just thinking about it and talking about it. And she said, I can never get that back. And that's the thing. If we mess up your experience, it doesn't matter if the next 10 are great, you will always remember that. And I've said in my other posts before that I have a friend much, much, much older than me who had babies 40 years ago now that died, and to this day she still cries about it. She still cries about the situation, and that hit. I mention that and think about that all the time because it helps me think about my practice and how I treat women. I think I'm a nice person anyway, but it's little things like that and stories like that and learning from these reports that make me go, okay, I need to. And it's not been a defensive practitioner, because I hate that. You should just be a safe practitioner, someone who is caring and you're acting on what you're seeing and you're acting on your expertise, right? And I know I'm waffling on and I feel like I'm going here and I'm going there, and I am. I keep saying let's talk about this maternity situation, but yeah, okay, let's come back. There are things, as I was saying, we can do that aren't going to cost money. So I think it really does begin with right at the very beginning, when a woman finds out that she's pregnant, and giving her the information that she needs to get and making sure she understands that information. And I think it's also teaching you women that maternity changes, your situation changes throughout your pregnancy. Anything could happen, because you could develop high blood pressure, you can then go on to develop preeclampsia, you could for whatever reason have an issue with your placenta that you didn't have at the beginning, there could be an issue with your baby that there wasn't at the beginning. So your decisions and your plans can change, and I think it's important to teach you to not be rigid with your thoughts. So, I don't know, for example, you want to have a home birth and you must have a home birth, and you've known that from the moment you were 5 weeks pregnant. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think you should tell us that, and you should tell us that that's what you want. However, we also need to help you understand that let's just be mindful of how things can change as the pregnancy goes on. And if things do, then we need to explain that to you and say, look, these are the options now, what do you think? And we should also not be rigid. We should also be open to negotiating with you and trying to come to a happy, safe situation. Because at the end of the day, if we identify a risk and don't act on it, we're wrong. If we identify a risk but don't and do what you want and something bad happens, we're wrong. So it's a very tricky situation for everyone involved, because ultimately I know I want you to have the birth experience that you want, but also a safe birth experience. I want your antenatal and postnatal period to be as good as possible. But I know a lot of that is out of my hands. So this is why I think stripping it back, no money involved. We just need to be able to talk to each other. And then we need to be able to be a team. And then we need to be able to, when a woman comes into the unit or calls up concerned about something, we just need to be able to say, come in and let's deal with it. When you're waiting for hours and hours, now, when I've been in A&E, I never really quite understand what's going on. But I do know when you've come in to triage to see us, we are genuinely always doing something, right? Well, we are always, there is someone on every single bed or chair. We have put someone on a monitor, and then we're waiting for you to be reviewed. Sometimes the makeup of the hospital doesn't help as well, the actual structure of how it is. Because I guess if we've done your assessment and we're just waiting for you to be reviewed, you should be able to come out of that cubicle, let someone else go in so we can assess them, and then you wait in the waiting area, ready for the review from the senior person, whether that's the senior midwife or a doctor, usually the doctor. Then we can call you back and then have that discussion. I don't know. So these are the things where that's when it becomes different, how things are dealt with in different hospitals. I've been very fortunate, I think, to work in hospitals that I've been very, very proud of how we work and how the team comes together. Doesn't mean there hasn't been mistakes, but I feel like we've always tried our best to make things better. So for example, we can't get enough midwives. Okay, so let's have some nurses, because nurses can do drug rounds, nurses can look after women. They just don't deliver babies, but actually in an emergency, a paramedic, a person down the street, anyone can deliver a baby. But it's about having a multi-skilled team. We have support workers, maternity support workers, healthcare assistants. So some units are now having nurses, because nurses can help us with recovery of women, with making sure that women are being monitored and getting their medicines. And that's good teamwork. So yeah, why can't we do that? Some hospitals are. To my last unit, we had a multi-skilled team of additional professions to help us run a good and tight ship. And the unit I'm working in now, we do too. Healthcare assistants, maternity support workers, registered nurses, registered midwives. It does make a difference. Each role makes a difference. That might require money, but these little things, I think, help the women. Transparency is really important. One of the scary things that came from the report that was done, the Ockenden report for Nottingham, was the not being transparent and things being missed, obvious things. So I'm not sure why that was. I haven't read that report, I'll be honest. But from what I can understand from the midwives, they were speaking up and saying that they were in a critical situation. So I feel like we're always adding layers and layers of management, but then what are management doing? And this is not me blaming anyone. Again, it's me saying, well, if a midwife is escalating, what's happening with that escalation? I don't know. So yeah, this was a bit of a Debbie Downer, as they say, video. But I guess I can't be on a social platform where I want to be someone who, as a midwife, and I want to be around to empower you and help us work as a team, because ultimately that's what I think is going to make a difference. Helping us work as a team and advocating for women, advocating for the ladies in my care. I had a lady the other day, she wanted a vaginal birth, but if anything was to change, She didn't want any stress on her or the baby. She wanted to be able to have a C-section, and we accommodated that. So why aren't more hospitals doing that? I think the other thing that came up, which Baroness Amos has disagreed with, was I think families were saying that they're not being heard and it's being encouraged to have vaginal births over C-sections. And if I'm really honest with you, I haven't witnessed that in the units that I've worked in. They are always offering women a choice, and they've always, if it started off, maybe the issue is when it's starting off as one way, a vaginal birth, that's what we're starting with, and you're in the unit, and then you're saying you don't want to go ahead anymore and you want a C-section. Maybe I think that's the issue. Why isn't the C-section happening? Now, I have seen that does happen in the units that I've been working in. I need to stand up. But I can appreciate it's not happening in all hospitals. And I guess that's why they're saying we need an overall commissioner that's making sure that all units are running in the same way. Because why is it you can go to one hospital and say, look, I just want to have a C-section and that's it. No questions asked and you get it. Or you go into that same hospital wanting a vaginal birth, going for a vaginal birth, then you decide I've had enough, I want a C-section, and you get it. But you go to another hospital and there's what's the word I'm looking for? What's that word? Resistance. There's resistance. So yeah, I definitely agree there has to be a hierarchy, another management level. Not all management levels are needed, but there definitely needs to be one that's monitoring all the hospitals and making sure that we're providing good care. And also, if there's an issue, a complaint, it's not only just dealt with within that hospital, so that things aren't covered up. So I definitely agree with the Commission. But for now, because I'm going to go, I need to go to the gym, it's my day off, back to work tomorrow. I do think we can start with your maternity team communicating with you better, listening to you better, and you feeling empowered to ask your questions and to speak up for yourself. And that's what I'm aiming to help you do. So see you next Tuesday. Bye.